Sorry, we'll get started in a little bit less than 1 minute. Still have people joining. And just so everyone knows, I am recording this so we can provide this to others after the fact if they couldn't make it today. And one more note, if you want, you can introduce yourselves in the chat. Okay, we can go ahead and get started. There will be people joining us as we discuss Homelessness Awareness Day. So I want to start out by saying thank you for signing up. This is a very important thing. Your participation at the Texas legislature and throughout the legislative session is going to be vital. I think even more so this session, the 89th session. I'm Eric Samuels. I'm the president and CEO of Texas Homeless Network, and there are a lot of my colleagues from THN and from our board who are on this call as well. And we are here to assist you with this event and beyond this event. So please call on us to help whenever possible. One more thing before I start getting into the presentation. I know there are a lot of first-time registrants, first-time attendees, and those that have attended in the past. In either case, it doesn't matter. If you have questions that arise during this presentation, please write your question in the chat or simply speak up so I can make sure to answer your question. If I can't answer it during this presentation, I will provide an answer or a response or the best answer I can later on. One more thing, I will be providing a PDF of this presentation to everyone who has registered for this event after we're through today. So I'm going to go ahead and show our presentation. And I have an empty notepad right in front of me. So I would love for you to help me fill that up with your questions. So do not hesitate to ask or respond or ask about certain legislation you may have heard of. Okay, let me just make sure everybody is seeing the screen. Can someone give me a thumbs up? Jeff, I see you. Do you mind giving me a thumbs up if you can see the screen? All right, thanks, Jeff. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. In this prep session, let me just tell you that we're gonna focus a lot on logistics. We're not gonna focus as much on the policy that's being proposed or our advocacy strategies. We're going to focus more on, how the day is going to go, where you're going to go, where you're going to park, things like that. When we get to the event, we'll give you more details and more advice on how to talk to your legislators. And not only just give you advice, we'll hand you a script that you can use if you want. So we're trying to make this as easy as possible for you. But today is primarily about logistics. Okay. Let me go ahead and sorry, I'm letting some others in. Okay. So today we are trying to accomplish just getting you comfortable with the idea of participating in Homelessness Awareness Day and conveying the importance of your participation. And again, I want to stress, it's not just your participation next Wednesday, it's throughout this whole session. This session has started a little slower than other sessions, so we're going to be racing through the next 2 months to testify on legislation, to work with legislators on legislation, and getting your help with that's going to be vital. All right, so our schedule for the day, that's what we'll go over first. I'll go over parking. Parking is always something that you have to worry about in Austin. So I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions for parking as we lead up to the event. Um, we're going to talk about navigating to and through the Capitol. This is not the only instruction you're going to get for that. We will be there to help walk you through the Capitol to where we need to go for our legislative meetings and for other events as well. And then we'll talk about your office visits with your legislators and what to do between visits if you have some time in between visiting your senator and representative. And everyone, I want to pause from time to time just to make sure I'm not missing any questions in the chat. Okay, so logistics for the day. We're going to actually start around mid-morning, but because parking is scarce, if you want to show up early to the event, you certainly can. The REJ Center, REJ Conference Room is just off the Capitol grounds. It's northeast of the Capitol grounds. I'm going to show you a map in just a little bit, but you may show up early for that. And in fact, if you know of a place to get coffee or something beforehand, it would not be a bad idea to show up early enough just to get that parking space and then go get coffee and then come over to the REJ Center. You can get in there early while we're setting up. When you get there, we're going to start doing check-in. So if we have you as registered, we'll have your name. We can go through and identify whether or not you have made it. And if we have a T-shirt for you, that's when you would get that. And then we'll also hand you folders that you'll use during your legislative visits. I would just say during that time, please be patient with staff because a lot of people tend to show up at once. And so we have long lines and people are in a hurry to get in. But you'll have plenty of time to get in and you'll be given plenty of opportunity to receive the instruction you need before you go to the Capitol. T-shirts. Here is the design in the lower right-hand corner. I want to thank, I don't know if Tammy Chan is on, but if Tammy Chan from Grand Prairie is on, I want to say thank you to her because she and her team are the ones who put together this logo for the event this year. So thank you, Tammy. We did have to order the t-shirts a couple weeks back. So there is a possibility that when you get there, if you register late, you will not get your t-shirt at the event. We hope you will. We've ordered more than we have more t-shirts coming than we have registrants right now, so we hope we'll be okay. But if we're in a situation where we don't have your size t-shirt, we can always order it and then send it to you to make sure it gets to you. The folks that help us coordinate this event at the REJ Conference Center really want me to stress no food or drink inside the conference center. It'll be that way at that location and also later on in the day when we have access to the Capitol Auditorium. So I promised I would stress that, so I am stressing that. Okay, so at 10:30, we'll get started by going over the plan for the day. We'll go over some of this same information, but we'll spend more time going over the legislative priorities that we are talking to our state senators and state representatives about. So that's when you'll get a lot of that more detailed legislative advocacy instruction. And that's the time where you can ask questions. Well, you can ask questions throughout this, but you can ask questions again at that time about certain legislation and why we're prioritizing it or not, and maybe ways to talk to your legislators about that. Any questions so far? And THM team, if you could help me if I miss a question, because I'm trying to do a few things at once here. Okay. Okay, after the orientation, we're all going to walk from the REJ Conference Center over to the Capitol, enter through the north entrance. And by the way, I'm going to show you maps in just a few minutes and links to videos that will help you with this. But we're going to go to the north entrance, which is the accessible entrance. We're going to walk down to, we're going to walk to the center of the Capitol, take the stairs of the elevator down to the Capitol extension, and then walk to the open air rotunda. That's where we're all going to get a picture with all of the attendees. Someone will be upstairs and they'll take a picture of us looking up, but they'll be looking down at us. I'll show you a picture of that in a little bit. It's a little confusing getting down to the Capitol extension because the numbering of the extension is different than what you would intuitively think. E1 is actually on top of E2. It's not the other way around. But we'll go down to level E2 and then walk in the direction of the rotunda. We will be there to help you. You're not going to get lost, but I do have maps and that I'm going to show you now. And you're also going to have maps in the materials that we give you. We have asked the legislative offices if we can start the meetings at 12:30. So you should have plenty of time to get from that to your meeting. And you probably will have time to get from the photo to the Capitol Grill to get something to eat and then to your meeting. Let me stop and make sure there aren't any questions. Yeah. Yeah, Amy. Thanks, Jenny. Yeah, we'll pass along the nice words to Tammy. Amy, I think we can buy extra t-shirts. I'll need to get with Sam on that. Samantha Foss is our director of development and communications, and they handle that. So I want to get instructions from them on how we can order extra t-shirts before I promise or tell you how that can be done. But we'll provide that. I'll try to get that to you when we send out the PDF of this presentation. Okay, keep the questions coming. Oh, okay, so when the meetings start after we do the picture, you can go up to your offices of your legislator, or if you don't have meetings for a little while, you can either go get something to eat off the grounds or at the Capitol Grill, which is, by the way, really close to where we'll be taking the picture. Or if you just need a place to take a load off, hang out for a while, we have the Capitol Extension Auditorium booked from 1 through 5 p.m. And that's a place you can't bring food in there, unfortunately, but it's a place that you can set your things down. You can sit down and rest until it's time for your meeting. We may have some speakers that will be attending that part of the day. I don't know yet about that. And I'm sorry, Crystal, you can't see the slides. Others can see the slides, right? Okay.
Crystal, Eric's doing a good job of covering what's on the slides. I wouldn't worry about it. He can send you the deck afterwards, but so far you're fine.
Okay. Okay. So the meeting that we have scheduled up, I'm going to show you how we're doing that shortly. I will say with the scheduling the meetings, please be patient. We have had staff calling offices, and oftentimes there's a lot of back and forth before we can get a time established. After you get through with your visits, we will have a report out that will ask you to do before you leave. You can you can access that through this QR code. It'll be in your folder, so you don't need to do anything with it right now. Okay, so now to parking. So when you get to Austin, you're going to want to find parking as soon as you can before the event. So the best place to park, if there is availability, is the Texas Capitol Visitors Parking Garage. To get a space there, you're probably going to have to get there early. So I'm just forewarning you about that. It is the first 2 hours are free. After that, it's still a very affordable parking spot. Honestly, I forgot exactly how much it is, but it's very affordable. These are the directions to that parking garage. You'll get this again, this PowerPoint, and I would just make sure to get that address saved in your phone so you can get in there. Yeah, it's not very much to park there, and it's only about a third of a mile away from where the conference center is. Yeah, Jeff, you're right. It is also South by Southwest, so it is going to be more challenging than normal. Yes. Um, that was unfortunate timing on my part getting this scheduled. Okay. This is the map of how to walk from the conference center or from the parking garage to the conference center. This map makes it look a lot further than it is. It's not that bad. There are, if you need, if accessibility is a concern, no worries. It's accessible all the way to the conference center, and the conference center is accessible as well. And also if you had those mobility issues that you're concerned about, you could have someone drop you off right at 16th Street. I don't know that you could you could probably get pretty close to the conference center and be dropped off there so you don't have to walk quite as far. Okay. The other choice, I mean, there's parking everywhere. Parking garages that you have to pay for, you'll find those throughout the area. But the other good choice is the Bullock Texas State History Museum. It is more expensive than the Capitol Visitors Garage, but it is somewhat affordable. It's probably your next best option, and it is close as well. So again, like before, I'm sending this PowerPoint out, so save this address in your phone so you can navigate to that if you need to. Again, it's a third of a mile. It's on the north end of the Capitol, or north of the Capitol. So you'd be walking a little different route to there, but it's still pretty close. And again, accessible all the way. So that should not be an issue. Okay. Those are the two parking spots that I would recommend. Okay, after we're at the RJ Conference Center, REG Conference Center, I'm sorry, and we get through with our orientation, then we're gonna all walk together to the north entrance of the Capitol. We're doing that for two reasons. One of them, it's the accessible entrance to the Capitol, but also it is the easiest way for all of us to walk over together and go to where we need to for our picture that I mentioned earlier. Thank you, Diego. Okay. When when we're walking up to the Capitol, it's going to look like this picture. So I just want to give you a visual. We'll go in this northern entrance, and then you can either go to the rotunda. Now, this isn't the rotunda where we're taking the picture. This is the inside rotunda. You should take a look at it. It's really pretty. You can either take the stairs or you can take elevators. whatever works, but you're going to take it down to E2. If you do take the stairs, you'll go to E1 and then down to E2. Again, we're going to be helping you find this location. And you'll have these maps in your folder as well. Okay, so there's an example of the picture that we'll be taking together. That's from a couple of sessions ago. And there's some more directions with this map. And by the way, all of these offices are where you could be having visits with your legislators. There's oh, sorry. I found a couple of videos. So when you get this, you can click on these links if you want to. A couple of videos that show people navigating to this area of the Capitol. This one is from a representative, and she walks in through the north entrance and walks down to her office, which is in this area here. So that gives you a really good idea of how to get there. If you're like me and you like to kind of check things out beforehand, that's a good video to watch. And then if you want to get a little bit better sense of what the Capitol extension looks like, you could click on that link. I'm going to provide those two links. Actually, I can't provide those right now. You'll get those when you get the PowerPoint. Okay, any questions so far? Okay. Okay, so this is when we're getting to the schedules. And I'm assuming there will be questions here, so please ask them after I go over this plan. So what we've done this year, instead of trying to find really specific times like 12:45 or 1:15, we're asking offices if we can schedule a time for their constituent to visit in one-hour window. So we're asking if they'll choose 12:30 to 1:30, 1:30 to 2:30, or 2:30 to 3:30. The reason we're doing that is so that if you have a state representative in the extension, say extension 2, and you have a state senator in the main Capitol, say on the west wing of the main Capitol, then both of those could be within that 1-hour time frame, because your meetings are going to last about 15 minutes, probably at most. So this gives you the freedom to do both during 1-hour time frame, and you're not rushing around as much. And if you don't have two within that 1-hour time frame, then you have plenty of time and you don't need to worry about rushing around and getting lost. Again, we're going to have maps for you and people to help you with these, with the navigation of the Capitol. So here I want to thank Diego, Craig, and Anya on our team. They have been calling these offices and setting up times. I don't know how well you can see this, but this is the page where we are establishing meeting times with state senators. So Senator Gutierrez has a group of people coming from his district, and they're going to meet anytime between 12 and 3:30. So they have a huge window of time where they can meet. And then you can see we have other meetings set up. Royce West, which is his district's in North Texas. This is Sarah Eckhart. We don't have the meeting scheduled for her yet, but you can see it's a big group. So sometimes there will be groups all going together to visit an office. We probably can't have a group as big as this one visiting Sarah Eckhart. We'll probably have to break that into 2 meetings. But if it's a group of up to 6, maybe even 7 or 8, then we can have you all go together. Then there will be other times, other instances where you have one registrant visiting one senator or one representative, so they'll be by themselves. So this is an example. There's someone who's visiting Senator Tan Parker, and that's the only person we have for that district right now. In those cases, we're going to ask you if you want, you could ask a friend to go with you, or you can ask one of us, a THN staff member, or if we have a board member that's volunteering to go with you, just so you don't have to go by yourself. So we'll do the best we can to pair you up with people. If you've done it before, like I'm looking at Heather, Heather is a veteran of this event. She doesn't need anyone to come help her, and that's fine. If you're comfortable doing that, that's fine. But we want to be there to help you if we can. And we also have people like Helen. Thank you, Helen. We often, that's what happens a lot. With our Austin attendees, they're often the ones who step up and they help out the THN staff and they join with attendees from other areas of the state to visit their legislative offices. So thank you. So we have that a lot when we have huge groups that are meeting with one legislator. That's very nice, Heather. Thank you. Let me make sure.
Yeah, there's a question from Elena. Are you going up in the chat? There's a question from Elena.
Yes, Elena would be nice. Yeah, so Elena, we are going to do our best to get you that information. I don't know that, well, I'm not even going to try to promise that. We're still getting calls back from offices. I don't think we're going to have it very close to done until probably Monday around noon, hopefully. But Diego, Craig, and Anya, if you're on, you can tell me. I don't know what I'm talking about with that if you have them done. I don't think they're done yet though. But we'll get that information to you as soon as we can. Please keep in mind also that the group that we're scheduling meetings for right now is already over 100 people, and we still have a lot of people registering. So that's a lot of coordination to go on, especially when you consider that every person has one state senator and one state rep. So there's quite a bit to coordinate, but we'll get that to you as quick as we can. And if I should add this, Elena, the second part of your question is something we need to point out. If you want to reach out to your legislators yourself, feel free to do that. But if you do that and you schedule something, please let us know so we can either change that information on the schedule we have, or we can just make sure not to call for you. Yeah, thanks, Diego. Yeah, that's the way it always works. Heather, we'll get to you. We'll get to you about hotels that might be good to stay at. It's yeah, with it being South by Southwest, I'm sorry. It's going to be a little tough. But yeah, if you would, please email me directly and I'll get back to you. Any other questions about this? We're still, I still have a few other things about scheduling. Actually, on here, so more people are joining. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So as soon as we can get you a schedule, we will, everyone. Reach out if you need to. And if you do reach out again to that office and set something up, let us know. That's very nice, Christo. It's very nice. Okay, when you get there to the event at the REJ Center and you sign in, we're going to have again a t-shirt for you if your size is available, but then we're also going to have folders, and it's not going to be just Helen, did you have a question?
Oh, sorry, I must have been off mute.
Oh, you're going to have folders. One folder is going to be one that you keep. It's going to be what you use to navigate the Capitol. It'll have your talking points. It'll have other things we think you might need. Then you'll have most likely 2 other folders. Those folders will be what you use when you go visit your legislators. So you'll have a folder that'll look like, it'll look something like this. I don't know if you can see, but it'll have priorities on one side, and you'll have more details about the bills that we're following on the other side. And that you'll leave with the office. So those will be your leave behind folders. So when you get there, you'll get a handful of folders. It won't be too much. You won't need a big bag or anything to carry it. But you'll get that all when you get to the event. So a few tips when you get there. I don't know if I've already went over this or not, or if I've had a slide on it, but I know you want to dress nice, of course, you're visiting the legislature, but keep in mind, there is a lot of walking. Wear something that's comfortable. It's going to be, it's going to be a lot of time on your feet. You're going to get your steps. Let's just say that. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, we will have in the leave behinds, it won't just be our priorities. We'll have a few infographics. I don't have an example here, but I'm going to show you one in a slide that's upcoming. Okay, that's most of the logistics right there. So let me stop and make sure there aren't other logistics questions. I will say, and I know it's not cheap, but we did have folks last session, they parked fairly far away and then took an Uber right up to the conference center. So that was a way for them to avoid trying to find parking really close by. Okay. All right, I'm going to get into the bills that we've been looking at. And first of all, I want to say we have 4 categories of legislation. The very first one is strengthen homeless crisis response systems. The next is all about housing. The third is about intersectional assistance. So working on bills alongside other agencies, other advocacy groups that are serving a population that overlaps with ours. And then the fourth is the area where we spend a lot of time in, and those are bills that would hinder or harm our abilities to prevent and end homelessness. So what I'm showing you now are potential priority bills. They may not end up being our priorities that we hand to you in the folder. And the reason we don't have that in concrete yet is because things are changing day to day with the Capitol. There are things going on right now that we could be addressing next Wednesday. Okay, so within strengthening homeless crisis response systems, some of the potential priorities would be funding for the data sharing network that THN operates. This would provide expansion funding so we could expand further and work with more service providers, provide more assistance to people at risk or experiencing homelessness. Right now, Representative Wally is out of Houston, is carrying the bill. Senator Parker is also going to carry the bill. We don't have a bill number for that yet. Stop me if you have any questions about any of these, please. Then we have a couple of other bills. You can find these on our website. We have a bigger list than just these.
I really like this Senator Wally guy. Texas House Senator.
Okay, what happened?
I feel like I'm learning so much about like politics.
Andrew,
Oh,
that's very, I love what you said, by the way. So I'm glad you weren't muted. That was very nice. But did you have a question? If you do, I can.
I'm so sorry, y'all. I don't even know what I said, but my bad.
You said you're learning so much about politics, and Like,
Oh.
that's exactly what we're trying to do.
I
That
got
was
to speak
hilarious.
with Senator Wally, and he seems like such a cool guy. So yeah.
Well, so here's what I thought you were. I thought you went off mute because of 2808. So what that will do is address youth homelessness. And it's a bill, I believe that's the bill that the Texas Network of Youth Services is prioritizing. And I think we'll have a representative from that agency at our orientation that morning. So that will expand the ability of our homeless response system to serve that population, which of course at LifeWorks, you do that. So that was a fortuitous unmuting of yourself right there. Thank you. So we have another bill here that Senator Johnson filed, something we worked on last session with them. It would pilot a program that is designed to keep students enrolled in community colleges. In the Austin Community College system and the Dallas Community College system, they had reports over the past few years of an alarming number of students having to drop out because of housing instability or homelessness. So the community college systems want to address that, and this is a way that we can start to do that. Sarah, citizenship status data. That's a good question. So what HB 636 does is expand the data sharing network, and that data sharing network, in full transparency, is something that we run, or I shouldn't say that. We facilitate the running of that with and at the direction of a board of homeless response system representatives. We collect HMIS data with that. And so we're not collecting citizenship data with that. That is something, though, that you have to always be mindful of. So that's a good question. There is a direct message from someone asking if we'll be sending the bills to you. They will be part of this presentation as they are now. We'll be sending you the presentation, but we'll also have this information in print form in a folder for you when you get there. And then also we'll have some infographics like this one. Let me show you. So we'll have infographics that will help you when you're talking to your legislative offices. You're asking, Crystal, you're asking about HB 636. If we're getting really into the details here, but I'm not in favor of a bill amendment to the expansion of the data sharing network that would ask us to collect data we're not already collecting, because that's expensive for the homeless response systems and the agencies. And right now, HUD does not require you to collect that information. So I'm not in favor of that either. And also, in full transparency, my agency is the lead agency for the Texas Balance of State. So we have a lot of partners on the border, and we want to represent them and their wishes as best we can too. So you'll have infographics like this. I'm showing you this one. There'll be another one in a few slides. We should have maybe 3 or 4 that we'll have available for you. And again, these are things that you can leave with the offices after you visit with them. I'll try to print some extras out so you could keep them and use them later if you want, but we'll also have electronic versions of these sent to you. Under expanding affordable accessible housing, again, here's some potential priorities. The first one is one that we'll be really working on hard. Oh, this is the trolley bill. We have an acronym for it, trolley, TRLI, Texas Tenant Readiness and Landlord Incentive Program. Basically, all this does is it provides funding for voucher holders. It helps voucher holders access units. So you can incentivize a landlord to lease to a housing voucher holder with this money. This money could also be used to pay back bills that are still pending. That keeps that voucher holder from accessing the unit. It can be used for a variety of things. If you worked on the emergency housing voucher program during when we were getting out of COVID, it operates like that, except that it doesn't have money for the voucher. So this would have to be paired with programs that are working with people with housing vouchers. It has support and strong support on the House and Senate side. So we're very hopeful that this can get through. One tip, if you see a bill with a low number, that means it has a lot of support. It sometimes means it is prioritized by leadership within the House or the Senate or both. A couple other ones, both by Garcia, and they're both related to veterans. The HB 1608, it would provide land to build deeply affordable housing for veterans and veterans escaping homelessness. And then 2426, we could use surplus government property for housing, which is always a good thing. If we can do it for veterans, if we can get programs like this for veterans in place, then our hope is we can show that they are successful, and then we can do it with other subpopulations. Here's another infographic, and this one is for the trolley bill. So your talking points are going to be similar to these bullet points, just to give you an idea. Okay, target intersectional assistance. So there aren't that many bills that fall into this yet. There might be others that are coming up. Every session, there are several bills filed by mainly representatives that would provide free access to ID or birth certificate for someone experiencing homelessness. This year is no different. I could have put 4 other bills up here that do very similar things, but Representative Busey's bill has the lowest bill number, HB 505. That would help someone who doesn't have all of that paperwork they need to get that paperwork without financial assistance. And if you do work with people experiencing homelessness, you know how important this is. That's also something that we may be testifying on for Representative Busey that day. So if we're doing that, we'll make sure to let you know. And if you want to join us, you can. Okay, we have another person saying they can't see the slides. Others are, right? Heather and yeah, you can. Okay. Sorry, Meg. We're going to send the slides out as well. Well, if you know Representative Busey, you should go to his office, definitely. Okay. HB 1130 or 1144, that's by Morales Shaw. It's for basically to include people experiencing homelessness in disaster preparedness planning. While we don't already do that, is crazy, so that needs to happen. And then 2476, it's another bill that would be helping students who are at risk or experiencing homelessness with expenses while they're in college. And I believe, I need to look at that closer, but I believe that's focused on community colleges as well. And then finally, there are bills, and these aren't the only bills, and there are bills that would put in place policy that would make it harder to do our jobs. SB 399, it is the so-called Homeless Services Audit Bill. It would require the state to employ a third-party investigator, assessor to put together a assessment tool, some type of audit that would apply to programs serving people experiencing homelessness that get money through the state. And that we think, we're pretty sure, that would apply beyond just those that receive general revenue state funding. We think that would also apply to those that receive funding that comes from the federal government through a state agency to that agency. So if you receive emergency solution grant funding through TDHCA, we think that you would be assessed under this policy. If this bill becomes a law, you would be assessed. And then there are issues with the assessment. There are questions that they ask that would be very tough for us to gather data on, so it would be costly for the program and costly for probably the grantor. So there are issues with cost, and then there are also issues with duplication, because most of your programs are being assessed already locally within your continuum of care, and then all of your programs have grantors that assess your performance. So it's not needed. Sorry. And then
Eric, this is Helen, does the bill define, I haven't read the bill yet, does it define self-sufficiency or not?
does
Or
it
give
what?
parameters? Does it define self-sufficiency?
It has it identifies measures that they will be gathering data on.
Okay.
It doesn't really define what is a well-performing project, and it doesn't do a very good job of explaining what happens if a project is considered poor performing. One other thing you'd be interested in, it seemingly would compare project versus project no matter what the project is. So if you're a program serving serious people with serious mental illness, and it's being graded in the exact same way as a program that is serving families, there are issues there that would seem unfair to me. That it doesn't seem you should be comparing projects like that. Apple to apple anyway. We'll also try to provide to you not only talking points, but if we can, some of our previous testimony. This is something that came up last session that we fought back against. And then SB 241 would compel cities to more strictly enforce the statewide camping ban. And it would do that by requiring cities to establish a way for citizens to file complaints about the city not adhering to the camping ban. And it would allow the state, who would eventually receive these complaints from the city, to determine whether or not that city will receive its tax revenue. So if they don't strictly enforce this, they may not receive the tax revenue that would be due to them. So this was also filed last session under a different name, or a different legislator and a different number, and we fought back against that too. So we'll be trying to fight that back again. There are some other bills that aren't good, but these are the top two, I think, right now. Again, things are changing. They're pretty fluid right now. And when you get this PowerPoint, you can click on all those links and see those bills. And that's what I have. And I can go back to logistics. I can go over legislation or talk about legislation if I know about it that I haven't shown, if you have questions about any of that. All right, Jeff.
Will you be providing some information on how the various representatives and senators are expected to act on this legislation? Is question number one, and question number two is for the ones that are opposed, will you be giving us information on what their likely objections are and how we might be able to help overcome those?
So, yeah, we'll do our best, I guess, I don't want to overpromise anything because
Yeah.
I don't think I can
No,
go
we're
through and
5
say
days
the
away, I get
representative's
it,
going to
but-
vote this way or that.
Yeah.
But we can talk about why certain things are attractive to legislators and others aren't, for sure. I would say, I'm going to stop sharing for right now, if that's okay. I would say that if you can make the financial argument, that's probably always a good tactic. With those two bills that I was just talking about, that definitely would hurt your local economy. And I think take money out of the hands of those that are trying to prevent and end homelessness. And that is a very inefficient way of addressing homelessness. So those will be within the talking points that we give you. That's always a good way to go. Yeah, I mean, oftentimes those in the legislature will vote along party lines. Especially if the bill is authored by, one of their colleagues in their same party. So that happens quite a bit.
Thanks.
Yeah. So good question here. In your potential 15 minutes of conversation with representatives, what do you focus on? We're going to give you talking points, but honestly, they're your representative, they're your senator. If you have something else that you want to talk about that's happening within your district, that's your time to do so. That trumps everything. That's what you should spend your time doing. You're not there to say what we want you to say. We will have things that you can talk about if we want and things that we think are important. But what's more important is that you talk to them about what you're seeing and what's more important to you, and most importantly, to those that we're trying to serve and help out of homelessness or prevent from becoming homeless. And you're going to get a lot more traction doing that, by the way. I wish Tammy was here, the person who created that logo. We had a Capitol Hill Day event in DC, and when she was able to talk to her representative, she talked about what was going on in Grand Prairie, and they listened. And it was a staffer, and you're almost always going to talk to a staffer and not the actual legislator. But it was a staffer, and they listened. They took notes. They brought it back to their boss, which is a representative VC. He eventually came to her and went out with her and her outreach team in Grand Prairie to see what was going on. Don't expect that to happen all the time, but those are the types of things that can happen. They should care about what's going on where you are, because that's their district, and ultimately you're their boss. So they should be caring about what's going on. Oh, yes, good point, Billy. John Cockrell was another person who did the very same thing that I was talking about, and he's in Abilene, and John had the same thing with Representative Arrington. He spoke about what was going on, his experiences serving people, and he was able to get a response from one of our Congress people. Now, these are state senators and state representatives, so they should be even more connected. Any other questions? And I'm sorry for those that had trouble viewing the slides. I'll send those out as soon as I can. Okay, good question. Our church is a few people. Okay, well, what I typically would do in that situation, yeah, and I've gone with Tammy and John, the two folks that we just talked about. I would talk to the offices and try to get the points out, the major points out as quick as I could, be clear about them, but then hand it off to the people with lived experience. Um, and oftentimes these are people with lived experience who are also now are helping people. That's who we want to give the time to. And so that's always my philosophy with that. And you know, if they are nervous about speaking and don't want to speak, that's fine. If they are comfortable enough with you telling their story, that's fine if that's what they want. But I say give them the time. And you know what? If they're speaking from the heart about what's going on, I would say 90%, 95% of the time, that the people that are in that office are listening and taking notes and really taking it to heart. And that's a good piece of advice, Heather. I don't want to put you on the spot, Heather, but if there's anything you want to say about the visits you've had or the experience you've had, you can.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say if you're concerned about if they're concerned about speaking or if you are wanting to be mindful of time, like working with them beforehand, if you have an opportunity, maybe sit down and let them practice with you. So then you can give them feedback on, hey, you were really passionate about this. And I think this would be really good to be able to share. And maybe this could be a follow-up email to the representative or something like that. But allowing them that time to focus ahead of time and giving them one single thing to really focus on will probably help them be at ease, and two, help you navigate that worry of taking up too much time, right? Like, because we've all been in those circumstances where it's an uncomfortable situation, because someone is so passionate they don't stop. Practice beforehand and you might mitigate some of that.
Yeah, that's good advice. A couple other things. If you say you're going to do something, if you tell that staffer, hey, when I get back home, I'm going to send you this, do it. Make sure you do that. If they tell you they're going to do something, hold them to it too. Don't be afraid to communicate back and say, hey, you said we were going to talk about the representative visiting my district. When can we schedule that? They're probably not going to do it this session. I'll just tell you that. And also, always, everyone on this call, if you've joined this call, you know so much more about homelessness and preventing homelessness than the person in that office. So please go into that meeting with that in mind. Don't think, that they're going to know everything about the work we do. They probably don't know much at all about the work we do. And this is, you're the expert in this situation. And I know that we're wanting to get these slides out, so I'm going to do that. Right now, I'm going to post it to the invite so everyone can see the slides. Do we have other questions? We have time. Oh, wait. Okay, yeah. Good question. We'll have a QR code that will take you to a form where you can provide feedback after your meeting. So that's going to be also in your folder. So I have to go back and make sure I get all these questions. Yeah, and I would say, share what's most important after the meetings. And keep the information. So share we'll have a form and you can fill that out. The most important thing of this is when you get back home, if there are things that were shared with you that's going on in your district that you're communicating with the office, that that should be prioritized over you filling out our form. We do want you to fill out our form, but I would rather you have a relationship with that office than anything. Okay, DJ, that's kind of story that you want to talk about, and the importance of the program in your life and in the lives of those that you're serving. That's the perfect type of thing to talk about. And if you want to, you could even attach it to something like SB 399. If our state is spending money on creating an assessment or paying an outside assessor instead of spending that money on employing people like you, then that money's not being efficiently spent, or I would say effectively spent. So that's the way you connect that kind of story to legislation. Yes, be sure to get business cards if you can. Yeah, and learn the name of the person who answers the phone. In these offices, there will be a lot of different people answering the phone, by the way. But if you can find, and we're going to ask you to ask for this. We're already asking this when we're scheduling this, but these meetings, if you can find the staffer that is focused on housing, that's who you want to talk to. All right, any other questions? Actually, I think, can someone look on the invite for this? The PowerPoint's up there, I believe. Let me put it in PDF form too.
Can I ask a question, Eric?
Of course.
I was asking in the chat, but
Oh, I'm sorry if I
like I
missed it.
said, it's fine. There's a lot of info there. When we're done with our meetings with the representatives, are we free to leave? Or I'm trying to get an idea of what time we'll be back, so I'll know how long
Yeah,
people will be gone.
you're free to leave. We're trying to set our meetings for you as early as we can. I think a lot of the meetings, well, actually I shouldn't say. The scheduling that we're doing so far, Diego, Craig, and Anya, I think a lot of them are allowing you to go visit your legislators at 12:30. So you'll probably be able to leave pretty early. Oh, thank you, Sam. Any other questions? And yes, you're free. I mean, this is your time. You leave, when you're ready. And if you want to go visit other offices, feel free to do that. Or there could be a hearing that you want to sit in on. You can do that. I think last session, I think Heather and her colleague went and saw the House meeting in the chambers. So, if you're at the Capitol, might as well do all those things. Hi, Crystal, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, will we get ahead of time the scheduled appointments for us, or will we know that before we show up there? And I don't know where that meetup place is. It's not in the Capitol, is that right?
It's not, but the address is on the PowerPoint.
Okay,
But
okay,
I've been trying to wait until we get all of our registrants in.
sure.
But I'm going to invite everyone who registers for an in-person meeting at 10:30 at the REJ Center. So you're going to receive an invite with the
Okay.
address. Yeah,
Okay, great,
yeah,
thanks.
but it's a good question because you're probably wondering why you haven't received this yet. It's just we keep getting registrants, and I don't want to send out 20, invites that say the same thing for a lot of you.
Sure, yeah, no, that's no problem, and I hope we can get more and more people to come, so, yeah. Thank you for doing this.
I think that you're the ones that are making it happen, so thank you for participating. And yes, the document that I just uploaded I will also send out just as an email separately, so you get that too. You probably are going to get a lot of information from us over the next few days leading up to Wednesday. So just get ready. Other questions? Okay. Well, thank you all, number one, for volunteering to do this and traveling to Austin during the time that we're having the event. And if you need anything, please, let us know and we'll try to help you as much as we can. So you're asking a question, can someone share how we can sit in on a meeting? You know what, why don't you call me a little bit later, we can talk about that. All right, thank you all, and have a great day.
Bye. Thanks, Eric.
Bye, thanks, Heather.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Jeff.